Do you struggle to balance your creative vision with, money? Well, that is what we're going to be talking about today in this episode. That's all about the author's tightrope, managing that balance between being a creative person in your business and in your book and translating that creativity into prosperity.
Are you an entrepreneur, small business owner, or consultant looking to boost your authority, influence, and impact? The Author's Switch podcast with best selling, award winning author Carma Spence is your answer. Tune in for actionable advice, powerful strategies, and engaging interviews to turn on your author's switch and take your business to the next dimension.
The Author Switch.
Hello and welcome to the Author Switch. I'm your host, Carma Spence, and I help entrepreneurs write, publish, and market client attracting books so that they can grow their business. In today's episode of the Author Switch podcast, I'm going to be talking about balancing the creative side of being an author entrepreneur with the financial side of being an author entrepreneur because as an author, you're creative, but you're not an entrepreneur if you're not making any money. So, bills need to be paid, but there is a way to balance those two sides. And you always need to be mindful of market demands, but that doesn't mean you need to curtail your creativity. So, the first thing you need to think about is understanding your audience. What does your audience want? What do they need? And how does that dovetail and intersect with both your financial needs and your creative needs? How do you research that? As an author, one of the best research tools you have is ta-da, Amazon. Because you can go to Amazon and look, are other people writing books like mine? If the answer is no, why not? Is it because no one is interested in that topic or no one has decided it's lucrative enough to write about that topic? That's a little bit deeper research that I'm not going to go into. And it's also kind of tricky. But if people are writing books about your topic, you know that it is a hot topic. So you're more likely to make money that way. The other thing you need to look for when you're actually going deep into what you want to write about that topic is take a look at the way people are reviewing the books that are there. What evidence can you find that says this is what your audience is going to expect to see in your book? And what you need to do is either A, include it in your book, or B, refute it in your book. But it is a giant pink gorilla in the room, and you need to address the giant pink gorilla in the room. The other thing you're looking for is reviews that say, gee, I wish this book had X. What is X? What are the things that your readers are looking for, but not finding? That's what you want to include in your book as well, because that's what will set you apart, at least in the short term. Next thing I think is fairly important is to define your creative vision. You want to solidify what is unique about your voice. This is what I call your geek factor. It's what makes you you and sets you apart. So, for example, I mean, to take from an obvious fiction would be Ray Bradbury and Isaac Asimov. Both are science fiction authors, but you wouldn't confuse the two at all. Throw in Ursula Le Guin, you've got my top three favorite authors of all time, and all three of them are very, very different. Same thing, take Seth Godin and Simon Sinek. Both are kind of writing in the business space, although one's more marketing and one's more mindset, but they're still in the business space, but they're very different. What's unique about you? What would set you apart? So someone would say, oh, this is a you book. And you wanted to find that as part of your own personal documentation, your branding style Bible that says, okay, these are the things I always do. This is part of what makes me, me, my brand, my brand. And you want to have a unique vision as an author. A part of this vision is gonna be in your brand promise. A brand promise is something that says, "When anyone experiences something from my brand, they will experience this essence, this je ne sais quoi." In case you didn't notice, part of my brand is a little bit quirky. I laugh a lot. And so when you experience my brand, you're gonna experience that. I also tend to like the, cool colors, so my brand tends to be more cool. You'll notice here, I've got burgundy, that's my main color. I do add a warm color, so you'll see right here, this is in gold, because when you're doing your branding colors, and this is a completely different topic, but when you're doing your branding colors, you want a balance of warm and cold colors. One's usually dominant over the other. That's neither here or there. I have 2 dominant cool colors. I have the burgundy and I also have a purple, and then I accent it with the gold. That's my branding. Anyway, totally off topic. I'm a random thinker. So now you've kind of got an idea of what your creative vision is. Now you need to also define your financial vision. What are the sales goals you wanna make? How do you wanna make those? And then once you've kind of got those 2 visions, find out where they work together, okay? And that's how you're going to balance that. It's from those things that you can craft a marketable idea, because a marketable idea is something that your audience wants, you can deliver on, and that has a uniqueness that can only come from you. It's three-pronged, and I do talk a little bit about that in the first book of the Author series, which was It All Starts With an Idea. So you can get that on Amazon, and that will help you dive a little bit further into coming up with at least that idea for a book. It's also quite useful for your idea for other things as well. That's all I've got in this portion. Let's go for our sponsored break. In every heart lies a story untold. In every mind, ideas yearn for expression. But the path from inspiration to publication is one few dare to tread. With You Can Make It to the Finish Line, that path is clear. This book is a journey through creativity, discipline, and achievement. Hi, I'm Carma Spence, author of You Can Make It to the Finish Line. And from your first word to the click of the publish button, you're guided every step of the way, transforming your ideas into a book that propels your business forward. Attract ideal clients, speaking engagements, and media opportunities, and create a legacy you can be proud of. Embrace your potential. Your story is waiting to be told. I know you can make it to the finish line. You Can Make It to the Finish Line, available now on Amazon. Welcome back to the Author Switch podcast. I'm Carma Spence, and I help entrepreneurs write, publish, and market a lead and client attracting books so that their business can grow with a book-infused business. Before the break, I talked about some foundational things in managing the author's tightrope, getting your creative vision and your financial vision and finding where those two intersect so that you can create a marketable idea. I have 5 more points I want to discuss today. The first one is writing with purpose. You want to ensure that your content aligns with both your artistic goals and the market needs. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you have to have that creative vision. You have to understand what it is that your creativity demands so that whatever you do aligns with that and expresses that. And you've done the research you need to do about your audience so that you know what is the market searching for that is also in alignment with your creative side. Then, once you've written with purpose, you've got your first draft, right? Now you need to edit for impact. And if you've got the time and the bandwidth, you want to have that manuscript be edited several times. Obviously, you want it edited for proofreading, commas, all that thing. But the first edit needs to be, does this manuscript, number one, have the content it needs? The content is organized in a logical manner so that people can follow the flow. And does it read well? So that's called like a developmental edit. Sometimes you can do it, depends on your skills. sometimes you need to hire that out. It's my favorite kind of editing, honestly, because that's where you really start sprinkling in your strategic vision. The first manuscript for me is usually like a brain dump, it's like you just, like, open up your brain and go plunk onto the page, and then you edit it so that it makes sense and it's polished and it shines. Then once you've got the content is where it needs to be, that's when you layer in the proofreading and the copy editing to make sure that, all your punctuation is right, all the spelling is right, you've used the right words, you're not saying manger when you mean manager, because spell check won't fix that. Because manger is a word, it's just not the intended word. That's a mistake I've made, just FYI. Yeah. Yes. All right. So the next thing is, and I talk about this in my latest book, Serve Up Your Book. You want to engage your audience before you write the book, while you're writing the book, before you launch, when you launch, and therever after. You're always engaging with your audience because this helps grow your list. This helps grow your buyers. It grows buzz for your next book. It grows your business. Always be engaging. Now, what does that mean? What does engagement mean? Well, first of all, it means that you show up places where people can engage with you. That's social media, that might be events. That's You want to be your best self, preferably at all times. We're not always our best self at all times. We are human, and hopefully you don't have a major fail when you're not your best self. It happens. Not a lot. I don't see it a lot, but you do see it. And interact. So when someone comments on your social media, respond in some way. Now, sometimes the response is just a like. It depends on what they said. I mean, like when people go onto my page and wish me a happy birthday, I can only write thank you so many times before it just seems silly. So I usually just like and love the birthday wishes. Or sometimes someone will say, "Yeah, I agree." Uh, How do you respond to that? There's nothing to really respond to other than like it. But when someone shares something, so for example, you might ask a question on social media and they'll give you an answer to that question, then you're like, yeah, I agree with you. Or, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Interact, interact. And this helps build your loyal reader base. Then, of course, there's monetizing your work. There are all different kinds of revenue streams you can have as an author, and the more you diversify your income streams, the better stability you'll have in your author-based business. So, the obvious one is royalties. That might buy you some coffee. For most authors, the royalties buy you some coffee every month. If you're really lucky and you have a lot of books and you've built up that Amazon algorithm, you might be able to get to paying a bill. Some authors actually make a living just selling books, but they don't have just one book, they have multiple books. That's the key to having the royalties pay. Most authors make money off the back end. That means someone picks up your book, reads it, and sees some sort of call to action that invites them to work with you, either by enrolling in a class, hiring you as a coach, joining one of your programs, joining a membership program, whatever it is that you have to offer, and have multiple things to offer. So, usually, what happens is someone reads your book and then they enter your world by joining your email list. It's through that email list that you get them to do other things, such as join a membership program, enroll in a course. Well, some people have sold courses and membership programs and whatever they're offering off the book. That's usually not how it happens, but it can. You can put it in there. You never know. If you do happen to read my book, Serve Up Your Book, you may notice that occasionally I drop a little hint that, yes, I have a membership program that's all about book marketing. Some people will say, this book isn't enough for me. I want more of Karma's book marketing wisdom. They'll join my membership. Some won't. Some will say the book's just enough because it does provide a lot of information, especially for a go getter and a DIYer. It really organizes the book marketing buffet so that it's manageable. So that's when so you've got royalties, you've got products and services that are off the back end of the book, and then you've got tangential books. So, for example, I could come out with a workbook that helped you. engage the content in the book itself. A lot of authors do this. A lot of authors will have a book and then have a companion workbook or a companion series of workbooks. Again, this gets you to the point where you're having multiple products on Amazon. And when you have multiple products on Amazon, you are more likely to get to the point where you're making income just off of Amazon. But do not put all your eggs in the Amazon basket because at any point, Amazon could go belly up. Probably not going to happen anytime soon, but you never know. You never know. So never put all your eggs in one business basket. And finally, the best way to manage that author tightrope is to stay true to your vision, which is why at the very beginning of this podcast, I talked about you need to have that vision down. Now, once you've written it down, does that mean that is what you have to do and you can never do anything else? Of course not. We all grow and evolve. So our vision may grow and evolve. I mean, at one point in time, all I could think about was being a fiction author. Well, I've been an author multiple times and not one of them is fiction. So someday I've got a couple that are in the works, but nonfiction is really where I ended up. So your vision changes over time, and that's okay. So there you go. In summary, to balance your creative vision with your financial vision, you need to have those visions down, written down. You need to understand where they intersect with each other and with your audience. When you get that three-prong thing going, you've got a stool that's not going to tip over, and you'll be able to manage that tightrope quite well. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Author Switch and that you found some information that is value. If you did, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you next week. This is Carma Spence saying ciao for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Author Switch podcast and would like to show your support, there are a few ways that you can do that. First, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Additionally, leaving a rating and review would greatly help me reach more listeners and continue providing valuable content. To stay up to date with the Author Switch podcast and gain access to additional information on amplifying your authority, influence, and thought leadership through books, you can follow me on LinkedIn at Carma Spence. For those interested in catching up on previous episodes, including those no longer available on podcast platforms, you can find them all at authorswitch.com/episodes, where you can choose to watch or listen to them at your convenience. Thank you so much for your support and for being a part of the Author Switch community.